Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and today we're going to be doing my February update for my continuation of last year's Pan That palette. So last year the Fantastic Ladies theme for Pan That palette was tiny pans, and I chose this sweet little baby pan palette right here with the idea that I would be able to get it finished up by the end of 2021. And yet here we are, and it's not done yet. So rather than go ahead and jump into the 2022 theme, which you may now know is Size Matters, I decided to stay the course and keep on with this little baby right here. I figured if I couldn't finish up this massively small amount of eyeshadow, there is only 2.4 grams in the entirety of this palette. There was no way that I was going to be able to pan a regular full-size palette, let alone one under the idea that size matters. Now, with that being said, I've seen some really great interpretations of that theme, which I wish that I was more creative and could have thought about, but my brain immediately went to the largest palettes in my collection, which is the polar opposite of what this palette was. So I was like, you know what? I want to see this through, so that is what we're doing. Now, in addition to that, I've also brought in some additional tiny products that I've been working on to kind of go with that tiny pans theme. And I've been doing starting last month, I have started doing build your own palettes for the monthly theme. So there's a lot going on here. Let's go ahead and start with what this palette looked like last month. Alrighty, and this is what we're looking like now. We're doing good, my friends, we're doing good. So we definitely have some changes going on in this palette. So let's go ahead and I will, as always, pop up pictures of last month versus this month so that you can visually see, let me scoot over a little bit, you can visually see the differences there, and we'll go over how many times I used each shadow. So the first shadow in the palette that is still in existence, I wanted to have done by this update. In fact, I had to repress it early into January because when I dipped my brush in to use it, it totally shattered. So I did repress it, and I have used it possibly to the point that it looked like before. I have not put the two next to each other, so I'll actually giggle quite a bit if they look the same. But I have used this shadow an additional 10 times since our last update, and heavy fingers crossed that we'll be able to get it done by my March 1st update. That would be absolutely fantastic. Shockingly, the next shade in the palette still does not have pan on it. I have used that shadow 9 times since our last update, and I just don't know how it's possible for there to be no pan yet on this. Now, I do typically only use it as an inner corner highlight, but even still, I tend to focus my brush in the same place each time, and there is still no pan in there, so that's so wild to me. The next shadow that is still remaining in this palette is all the way down on the end. I have used that one an additional 3 times since our last update, so it is getting really thin around the edges. I'm honestly considering repressing either 3 or 4 of these shades, probably just 3. I would like to repress because they are getting a little bit more difficult to use because they are focused so heavily just alongside. And I think that might help me get them used up. But this is a shadow that is an early duochrome. I personally, it doesn't wow me because I have been spoiled by the indie duochrome and multi-chrome game. But it is a nice shadow to lay down as a base and lay other things over. The next shadow is technically the 7th shadow in the palette. It's this beautiful gold shade. I've also used that shade 3 times since our last update, and I was really focusing trying to hit side pan. I didn't Didn't quite get there, but almost. But yeah, I have used that an additional 3 times. Now, 2 of those 3 times I know for sure were just as inner corner highlights. In fact, it is what I have on the inner corner of my eye today. So I knew that that would be pretty slow go, which is why I was kind of targeting that side pan there. But I didn't quite make it. The 11th shade is the next one we're going to talk about. That is one that I have used 2 times since our last update. I tend to pair it quite often with that 6th shadow. Sorry about that, my memory card was full. So I believe I was talking about the 11th shade in this palette, and that I do typically pair it with the 6th shade, and they kind of play off of each other quite nicely. And then the last shade in this palette also does not have pan on it. I've only used that an additional 1 time since our last update, but wow, the fact that I have been using this palette for over a year now and I still have 2 shades in it that don't have any pan on them is kind of wild to me. Now, it isn't a palette that I've been using exclusively. I pan well, I pan too much, but I certainly pan way too much eyeshadow, so it was something I was using in conjunction with other things. But still, to have been using this itty bitty little thing for a year now and still don't have pan, I don't know, man. Okay, so let's talk about what I would like to see next month. Next month, I would like to see the 2nd shade and the 6th shade completely gone. I do think that I am going to repress the 2nd shade, the 6th shade, and the 7th shade just to make it a little bit easier. If I could have all 3 of those gone, that would be amazing. So I would like to see at least one of those gone by next month and pan on one of the 2 shades that does not yet have pan on it. I feel like those would be really good kind of goals to strive for. Now, as I mentioned, there are a couple of other tiny products in this project that I've been working on, and one of them I've been working on forever. It feels like forever. So this is a teeny tiny itty bitty little tiny deluxe sample of the Bobbi Brown, I never remember what this is called, Crushed Liquid Lip. This is in the shade Smoothie Move. It is what I'm wearing today, and it's never going to be gone. It's never going to be gone. I've worn it an additional 8 times since our last update, and I feel like it is still going so strong. I did at one point already pull the stopper out of here, and that does not seem to have helped. I still have so long to go on this. But just like with the palette, we're going to see it through, and I'm going to finish my very first liquid lipstick of all time, even though it is a microscopic little tiny little speck of a container. As of the last update, I had asked you guys if I should pull in another tiny product or not. You guys said yes. So I pulled in this little bitty thing right here. This is a moisturizer. This is from the brand Petite and Pretty. This is their 9021 Glow. And I used it 5 times. It is used up entirely. I didn't bother to cut the packaging open because this little itty bitty thing just did not warrant it. I got out as much as I possibly could, and even cutting it open, I couldn't imagine would have given me more product then. It just didn't make sense. So I didn't really love this product, I'll be honest. It is a moisturizer, but it didn't leave my skin feeling particularly moisturized. And the glow that this claims to have is just little tiny micro glitters. So not a product that I am running out to buy again, but I am glad to have it done and dusted and out of my life. But I am bringing in another tiny product to replace it, and I really very much struggled with what to bring in because I have a lot of things going in different projects, and I was trying not to overwhelm myself, and oftentimes things that are small are things like primers or eyeshadows or just other things that I'm already working on a ton of. So I found this foundation. So this is one that came in a boxy, no, I lied, in Ipsy, like a million years ago. This is from Touch in Sol. This is their Advanced Real Moisture Foundation. I chose this because A, I don't have any foundations currently going in any other projects that I can think of, but also I have a full size of this in the shade that is slightly lighter. I feel like this only comes in 2 shades. This is in the shade number 23, Natural Beige, and the full size that I have is number 21. I think it's also natural beige or ivory beige or something like that. And I feel like this is just a hair too dark for me, so I will have to use it as a mixer, but I would like to get this used up entirely and get another foundation out of my inventory, so I feel good about that. Okay, moving on to my January Build Your Own palette. I tried to take some pictures of the looks that I created using this, but the whole point of this palette was to be a very basic neutral palette, and so I didn't feel like they photographed all that well. So if I have any photographs that I like, I will have been putting them up here in the corner. But let's talk about my experience using it, because this was an odd experience. I should have renamed this the Shattered palette, because that is what happened. A couple of these shadows shattered on me. So the first one that we're going to talk about, I hate picking it up, but I'm scared. So this from Sydney Grace is in this shade, I think it's Woodland. Yeah, Woodland. Yeah, it totally broke, and it happened, I don't even know how. So I put this palette together on camera with you guys. You guys saw that, I talked about it. The next day or the day after, I went to go use this palette, and the only thing it had done was sit here on my desk, and the whole like top half of the shadow had just popped off. So I, trying to be super smart, doused the remaining shadow in the pan with some alcohol and then put a couple of drops on the underside of the part that popped off and just tried to like sandwich them together. That did not work. Many of you at home were like, well, duh, that didn't work. But in my mind, I thought it would. It did not. So I used even more alcohol over the top to kind of saturate the top layer and try to smosh it back in there. That worked a little bit better, but it has continued to crumble in the interim. And when I've used the shadow, the pigmentation just isn't there anymore. So I'm actually thinking I'm gonna have to declutter this, which is really sad because I really do like the shade very, very much. And I really should go through my collection to see if I have anything similar to it. But yeah, very disappointed that that happened. The other shadow that broke on me is the one that I'm wearing today. It actually happened earlier today. So what I have predominantly all over my lid is this right here from Glaminatrix. It's in the shade Botanical. Really, really beautiful, but the thing to know about Glaminatrix shadows is they are very soft. So all I was doing was putting my brush into it to pick up the shadow, and it just started crumbling away. So I added some alcohol, tried to press it all back in there. We'll see how it goes, but man, we got to rename this the Shattered palette. Now, as for the other shades that are in here, I really loved using this. This is such a boring, basic palette, and I loved it so, so much for exactly that reason. And I got quite a few compliments. I remember I was grocery shopping at Target, and I was wearing mostly this shadow right here. This is Animal Kingdom from Menagerie Cosmetics. I had just a little bit of the light brown all through my crease. I had that as a wash over my lid, and I got compliments from strangers talking about what I was wearing on my eyes, and that like never happens. I don't know, but yeah, so felt very, very good about that. One that I posted and got a lot of comments on is this one right here, Terra Moon's Mirage. Such a fun, I get a little bit of the flip there. Such a fun duochrome, multi-chrome business. Love it so, so much. So I really had a very, very good time playing with this palette, and I'm super excited to build a new palette. I'm thinking I want to be incredibly cliche and make kind of a Valentine's Day date night palette. So let's go ahead, we'll turn the camera down, we'll pick a new palette, and I'm very excited.
Through the fields of our paths, feelings part our ways, keeping us close but estranged now. Dreams holding us closer, meadows of our youth, 107 days, but recalling it backwards. Our dreams holding us closer. Ooh, we can see so clear. shades of grey, living day to day. Even when we're free, it's true.
All right, so here we have it. This is my February build your own palette using the sort of theme of Valentine's date night. And I think for me, this actually hits the nail on the head very, very well. So let's talk about the shadows that I chose. So the first one that we saw swatched is Winter Garden from Sydney Grace. We then have, also from Sydney Grace, we have the shade Countess. From Colored Rain, we have the shade Ladyship. I have from Sydney Grace the shade Frosted Morning. Also from Sydney Grace, the shade Storm Cloud. And then we have from Looksy Beauty, the shade Painted Lady. This one is so stinking pretty. I'm very excited for that one. We have then from Sydney Grace, the shade Blushing Peach. From Terra Moons, we have Crimson Eclipse, another stunning multi-chrome. Oh, do not sleep on Terra Moons. They are fantastic, fantastic. I have Sea Stars from, wait, did I have this last month? I think I did. This is Sea Stars from ColourPop. Whoops. I have from, who is this? This is from Colored Rain. This is the shade Hot Cocoa. And then I have a depotted Alamar Cosmetics shade. I do not know the name, and I cannot for the life of me, I think, remember the name of the palette that it came from. I got it in a BoxyCharm. I absolutely love the palette. I have no idea what possessed me to depot everything, but fantastic. I want that Encanto set so badly, so badly. I'm pretty sure this is a depotted Ace Beauté shadow. No idea what it's called. This is from Terra Moons. It's in the shade Cocoa Frappe. I have, this is a depotted shade from a palette. I don't remember which one. And then finally from JD Glow, we have the shade Sin. This is one of their Galaxy shadows. Another company that you should absolutely not be sleeping on because they make beautiful products. So super duper excited to be working on this in the month of February. These are more interesting colors, so hopefully I can get some good pictures for you. What do you think? Is this what you would have chosen for your Valentine's Day themed palette? I would love to know. As always, everything that I am wearing will be linked in the description box below. And if you have not yet subscribed, I hope that you'll consider doing so. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that you're having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.